There's a new executive order out there that's about to completely change how the US government spends, well, your money. And it all boils down to one single, absolutely staggering number.
$490 billion. Yep, that's the number at the very heart of this whole policy shift. I mean, it's a number so big, it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around it. So what on earth is all that money for?
Well, that's what the government spends every single year on what they call common goods and services. And we're talking about the basics here, right? Things like office supplies, IT contracts, maybe some furniture, all the stuff that basically keeps the lights on and the government running.
So a recent presidential action, Executive Order 14-2040, is putting this entire massive spending process under a microscope. And it's not just looking, it has a plan for a complete overhaul. So let's dig in and see how it's all supposed to work.
Okay, first things first, we really need to get a handle on the sheer scale of this spending.
You see, the executive order points out something pretty incredible. Spending nearly $500 billion a year makes the U.S. federal government the single largest buyer in the world. But here's the catch. Unlike a huge company that would use that buying power to get the best deals, the government has always been super decentralized. And that creates some pretty big challenges. And just so we're all on the same page, when we say common goods and services, we're talking about the stuff that pretty much every single agency needs to function. The order is basically asking a simple question. If everyone is buying the exact same things, why in the world are they all doing it separately?
All right, so what's the big problem here? What was this executive order actually created to solve? Well, it all boils down to one simple word: duplication.
You know, you don't even have to take my word for it. This quote right from the order itself just nails the issue perfectly. It calls out a system where tons of agencies are all buying the same things, but in a way that's, and I'm quoting here, uncoordinated and less economical.
Let's make this real. Think about IT services. Under the old system, you'd have, say, 4 different departments: energy, agriculture, health, interior. And each one goes out and negotiates its own separate contract. They get different prices, they use different processes. It's kind of like a giant company where every single office is buying its own paper clips from a different store. The inefficiency is literally built right into the system.
So, what's the fix? Well, the order turns to a single existing government agency and basically says, you're in charge now. You're going to lead the charge.
And that agency is the General Services Administration, or GSA. And what's really interesting is that the order points out that the GSA was literally created for this exact job, way back in 1949. Its whole purpose was to be the government's central, efficient shopper. So the new policy is basically arguing that it's high time the GSA got back to its original mission.
Okay, so here's a look at how the new system is supposed to work. Instead of everybody doing their own thing, all agency requests for these common items get funneled through the GSA. Then, the GSA takes all that demand, bundles it together, and uses the massive buying power of the entire federal government to hopefully lock in a much better price for everyone.
And listen, this isn't some plan for 10 years down the road. No way. The order sets a super aggressive pace for these changes, with some very specific, very tight deadlines.
And when I say aggressive, I mean it. The clock started ticking pretty much immediately. Within just 14 days, the Office of Management and Budget had to get its implementation plan out the door. By the 30-day mark, boom, the GSA is officially the lead agent for IT contracts. By day 60, every single agency head had to hand in their consolidation proposal. And then the big one, within 90 days, the GSA had to deliver a complete government-wide plan. That is an incredibly fast timeline for a change this big.
Okay, so after all that, what's the point? What's the intended impact here? Let's break down the official goals and what this policy shift is really trying to do for taxpayers and for the government itself.
The goals laid out in the order are actually pretty direct and crystal clear. First up, get rid of all that waste and duplication we were just talking about. The hope is that this will, in turn, save taxpayer money and just make government buying way more efficient. And there's another key goal: to free up the individual agencies from all these complicated buying tasks so they can actually focus more of their time and their money on their real missions.
At the end of the day, this is a huge operational shift. I mean, by consolidating almost $500 billion in spending every year, this order is trying to fundamentally transform a core function of how the federal government operates. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. Beyond just saving money, how could it change this fundamental, really truly alter the way Washington works?